Hi everyone, it's me Coco from Coco Business Lounge. You know, I always come to you to talk about business because I like business. So I was talking to a certain lady the other day, and she told me that she wanted to start a business with her husband, but they're always quarreling, about certain things, about money, about paying different bills in the house, about children, about all sorts of things. Husband and wife, they do quarrel about different things, which is in some sense normal. But I was just asking her what was the quarrel about in terms of business. But then she told me that in terms of business, she wanted to start a business with her sisters and her brother, but the husband is not happy about that situation. The husband said, if you start a business with your family, I'm going to divorce you and all sorts of things. And then that spiraled out of control simply because of starting a business. So what I said to her, because she did ask me, Coco, what do I do about this situation? Because one, my husband is not strong in business. He's very weak in terms of business. He wants to be involved in terms of business. So I sort of said to her, you've got to consider a few things. Yes, your family is there. There are also benefits of doing business with your family, and there are also disadvantages doing business with the family. Because one, if that relationship breaks down, the business relationship breaks down, it will end up breaking your family relationship as well. And that same problem applies to your husband as well. But the threat from your husband is not a good one. It's a good thing to sit down and talk about this problem and say, the reason why I haven't involved you is XYZ, and let him understand the reason why you've come up with this idea first. If he can acknowledge his weaknesses, because in business, this is one important thing that we have to all understand. We are not all capable of doing everything. We have our strengths and our weaknesses. So if you sort of highlight your husband's strengths and your weaknesses, not in a way that is going to be shaming him, or not in a way that is going to lower his confidence down, but talking about what he can actually do, and then you support him to do that. You might want to start on from talking about supporting him to build his strength in areas of business, and start discussing about all sorts of things that you think he can improve before you can actually start a business with him. So you can also start talking about where he can whether he can start another business with his family members as well, which will give him an upper ground because it will be his family as well. So you are on equal footing with that situation. If he doesn't agree and he still just wants to start business with you, then you have to go down on the drawing board, because if the relationship, the business relationship ends, you just have to make sure that your relationship stays as well, because most of the time we have seen that if you start a business with your husband, and then along the lines you will find out that your husband is taking money, and you are also maybe might be threatened to take money from the business and use it the way that your husband is not agreeing to. So you have to lay down all the rules that you have to do in terms of business. I remember previously I went to advise, it was a joint business that the two ladies were dealing. I spoke about it before, and they were friends. They started a business, but then their husbands actually joined into those business, because look, it's very difficult for a business to run without your husband involved, in some sort of matters one way or the other. But the fact that they actually took their husbands to be in control of their business when they actually started the business, the two ladies themselves, then caused so many problems. So I advise them to say this partnership is null and void. It was not working. So what I advise them is to stop that business and then go separate ways. Each partner will start their own business. They know the business. They are not in competition at all. The type of business that they were doing is all over. People can do it. There's still market for everyone. There's still a slice of the market for them to run that business. So I advised them to continue that type of business separately. So I actually nullified that business venture for the two of them. That actually went well, and I ended up advising them about certain things about managing and running their business if they are now to be a joint partnership. Mostly myself, I wouldn't advise people to start businesses with their closest family members and their husbands, because the relationship, if the business doesn't go well, the relationship will break. You have to, if you want to do it, you will have to put in strict measures in place, and this is business. This is not dilly-dallying. This is not love-dallying, whatever it is, you know. You just have to deal with business. And when you are doing business matters, be professional about it, because the aim is for the business to progress. But if you are taking emotions into it, you are taking the past into it, you are taking all those things into it, then running that business is now consumed by your past relationships. It's now consumed by your relationships and how you deal with that relationship. So sometimes you know that in a relationships we give and take. There are so many things that we give and take. I'm not saying in business you don't have to give and take, but if you want to progress and to prosper in this business, you have to really make some decisions that are business related, not the decisions that are husband and wife related. You have to write them down, you have to abide by it, and you have to write your goals down with regards to the business. Sometimes, you know, I know a couple that divorced, but in business they were still partners, and I know for sure because I've spoken to them about that issue. They're still in business. The property still brings in money, and they share the money between them, you know, which is a good arrangement. So sometimes you have to come up with those arrangements if that is not going to work, you know, in terms of your personal relationships. But if in business relationships you put in something like that, you have to make sure that you write it all down. In the event that our personal relationship breaks down, this is what is going to happen to the business. Once you are sure about all those things, you then move on to, legalize it if you want, that contract between the two of you, because we've seen so many businesses, especially here, businesses do, dissolve because of silly, sometimes, disagreements, and they sometimes don't call people like us to advise them about their businesses. So most of the time you find out that once that goes on, people don't start running the business as much as it is, or sometimes when money starts coming in, people forget where they've come from in terms of that business, what they have built, and what were their goals and aims, which is to be financially independent. So you find out that people will forget about that. Once they start getting a little bit money in their business coming in, they start misusing the money. They haven't grown, that business hasn't grown. You see, sometimes, you see like the other party that I advised previously, it's just one supported accommodation, and the man is running wild about the money, and then the wife started taking money as well. So you haven't actually grown. So you have allowed yourselves to fail in business. So this is what I just wanted to tell you, that if you are starting a business, if you want to start a business with your relative, or you want to start your business with your partner or your husband, you have to be very honest with each other from the very beginning of as to how you are going to run this business, as to your goals, your limitations, your the way you are going to dissolve it in the event that your relationship has ended. So this is why I always say, if you are not sure, consult other people who are qualified to advise you on certain issues about business. That will sort of, this will be like a neutral person who comes in and advise you about that. And once that is in place, you will follow that plan, and you always remind yourselves to go back to that plan or to go back to that agreement, and that sometimes helps. So this is why I just wanted to come to you to tell you about this. I'll come back again, and talk to you about certain issues that have come up, and I haven't had quite a good time to tell you about it, but I'll come back again and tell you which is going to help others in similar situations. Thank you so much for listening. Till later. Bye-bye.